And now I want to introduce our speakers, whom I'm excited to hear from, because quite unexpectedly, when we had our lobby visit to the office of Senator Padilla, Military Families Speak Out showed up along with Veterans for Peace and U.S. deported veterans, and they were incredibly effective in witnessing for peace. And I just can't thank them enough for what they had to offer when we had our lobby visit. And I just am so pleased that they're going to be sharing with us today what they're doing to promote peace as people who are involved with the military. So I'm eager, I don't want to say more, I'm just eager to hear what you all have to say to us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you everybody from ICU JP. Got it right this time. And I really, all of us appreciate very much being invited to let you know more about us and to share our stories, and really excited to know more about you. I really have not worked with any of you, I think, before, maybe here and there, before Anthony invited us to participate in the exciting work you're doing lobbying. So I hope it's just the beginning of the work that we do together. And again, thank you for having us today. We have a few guests with us to share with you what we're all about. My name again is Pat Alviso. I'm the National Coordinator for Military Families Speak Out. And I'm the mom of an active duty Marine. He's been about 30 years enlisted in the Marine Corps. We have members across the country, and all of us have loved ones in the military that have enlisted or joined in somewhere or another since 9/11. We support the troops. We want them home now, and we work to take care of them when they get home. MFSO was started in about 2002 by two families up in the Boston area, and right before the invasion of Iraq. At that time, I really didn't know anybody who was in the military that was speaking out against the war. I just didn't know until I heard about Cindy Sheehan. And so when I found some people in DC, when I went to find out at the Peace Center too, what, you know, at the Crawford Center, some of you may remember that, the Crawford Peace Center, where George Bush was having his vacations, I decided to go there. And so I found my community. I found other people, veterans, military families, most powerfully Gold Star family members, those that had already lost loved ones in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so I found my people, and I credit other family members and those that have had some tremendous losses over the years for pulling us through my son's 6 deployments, his sufferings from TBI, 2 divorces, PTSD, and many other crises. And to tell you more about military families and for you to get a chance to meet some other people and hear their stories, I'd like you to meet Mary Ladke. In 2008, Mary joined Military Families Speak Out, and we are a member of UFPJ. She began her work for United for Peace and Justice in 2010 as a member of the Afghanistan Working Group. She's been a member of UFPJ Coordinating Committee since 2012. In her semi-retirement years, Mary now chooses to focus on the bulk of her time on serious and complex issues facing our country and the world. She works at the national level with MFSO wearing many different hats over the years, served as in a stellar way, just getting us reorganized in 2013. She also works with PeaceWorks to promote a world of peace without war and its weapons. She also is a great participant in the Poor People's Campaign, like many of us in MFSO are, which is focused on racism, militarism, poverty, and the climate crisis. Thank you, Mary, for sharing so much of your expertise with us today.
Okay, well, I'm Mary Ladke, and I'm going to briefly talk about MFSO and address my involvement in the issues of war and peace. MFSO has played a big part in making me a lifelong activist by raising my consciousness about how militarism is connected to all the major issues facing our country. Military Families Speak Out is a national organization which began in 2002, an attempt to stop the upcoming Iraq War. MFSO is the first organization to give military families permission to break the code of silence and to speak out against the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. We put a human face on war. We advocate for all US troops to leave Iraq and Afghanistan, and we speak out against unjust military interventions. We support the troops who selflessly serve. They are doing what their country has asked of them. The problem is our country is asking the wrong thing. My son Ryan was an Army infantry officer who led his men into fierce combat in Afghanistan at the height of President Obama's surge. During his deployment, the troops experienced some of the highest death and injury rates of the war. My son left the Army in 2013. Very few people realize 3 million troops have served in Iraq and Afghanistan over the past 20 years, many serving multiple tours of duty. Our troops went off to war to help their country, and many came back shattered. War and its horrors change you forever. The violence of war does not end when our troops come home. 20 veterans from all wars die by suicide each day. In good conscience, how can we continue to ask our troops to risk their lives, limbs, and emotional well-being for wars that are no direct threat to the United States? Supporting our troops means bringing them home now and taking care of them when they return. Wars since 9/11 have little to do with protecting Americans, but are all about the immensely profitable business of war. We are told that this massive war spending is necessary to support the troops. But in fact, it supports defense contractors making record profits. How are we supporting the troops when many military families need public assistance, such as food stamps, to make ends meet? How are we supporting the troops when many military are Superfund sites full of toxic chemicals endangering the health of military families? How are we supporting the troops when there was a move to privatize the VA so corrupt corporations can pillage the system for profit instead of appropriately funding VA services to handle the ever-increasing number of veterans who need care? How are we supporting the troops when the military knowingly exposed untold numbers of servicemen and women in Iraq and Afghanistan to deadly toxins through the extensive use of open-air pits instead of ensuring waste was properly handled? Military spending is a choice. Congress votes on how to spend these taxpayer dollars. So when you are told there is no money to take care of basic needs here at home, don't believe it. A choice has been made by our elected representatives, ignoring the needs of Americans to do the bidding of the military-industrial complex. War affects us all. Only the business of war profits. We need to confront the war industry and the politicians who serve it. These are the choices our country has made, and they basically come down to hurting people here at home and abroad. We do not take care of people. What is it going to take for us to realize that real national security isn't measured by the size of our military, it's measured by the welfare of our people? US war and interference throughout the world has brought intense blowback. Blowback is the unintended consequences of war and US policies. And here's what blowback looks like. Since 9/11, the US has created a vast national security state surveilling Americans. Militarism abroad has gone hand in hand with the militarization of US borders and of poor communities across the country. Military weapons for our wars are returning home to local police departments to be used against brown and Black communities. The weapons used on the streets of Baghdad are literally the same weapons used on the streets of Ferguson. Young Black males are 9 times more likely to be killed by police officers than other Americans. Martin Luther King, in his Beyond Vietnam speech, reminds us of the inherent racism of killing the Vietnamese people with the killing of Black people in America through dehumanization and contempt for other people. The destruction done to the Vietnamese people is the same destruction we are doing to the Afghans, Iraqis, Syrians, Yemenis, and others today. It is the same racism that goes together with the war against immigrants and refugees. The United States has the highest murder rate for any industrialized nation. The US population alone has 300 million guns, and that's registered guns. Those are the ones we know about. It has the world's largest prison population and an out of control policing system. It is the world's largest arms dealer. No other developed country has the phenomenon of mass shootings. The most unfair and unjust healthcare system for any industrialized nation. We suppressed the vote of our people. Our own civil war ended slavery by killing over 600,000 of our own people. Other countries ended slavery peacefully or with legal means. It is no coincidence we have killed approximately 1 million people in Iraq, Afghanistan, and the region since 2001. And the most all-encompassing blowback comes in two forms: the escalating nuclear arms race and climate change. Both threaten all humanity. If we really want to change the direction of our country, we need to come together to build a broad movement which recognizes how each problem contributes to the other, and in which one of the unifying factors is to end wars and its massive spending to support human needs and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. As you can tell, Mary always has something wonderful to say, has taken her messages with us to the White House on 2 occasions. And you can find her latest article in Common Dreams. Thanks again, Mary. She does a lot of good writing for us. Next, I would like to introduce Jeff Merrick. He's currently the treasurer of Military Family Speak Out. He's going to talk about the campaign work that Military Family Speak Out has been doing with the AUMF. Jeff has spent over 20 years in the Air Force. And while he was in the Air Force, he worked mostly on drones back in the 70s and provided technical support as a contractor to the LA Air Force Base for 33 years. As a Military Family Speak Out board member and a member of the Orange County chapter 110 of Veterans for Peace, his main focus has been on ending the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and also supporting deported veterans. He's traveled all over the country, from the East Coast to Hawaii, talking to legislators and other members about ending the war in Afghanistan. Jeff?
Thank you, Pat. Like Pat said, I've basically kind of been tied to the military my whole adult life in one way or another. What I would like to talk to you about today, which is I'm sure majority of, not all of you already know about, is the campaigns that MFSO has been working on with the AUMF, which is the Authorization for Use of Military Force. There's actually 2 of them in existence. First of all, I'll talk about what they class as the 2002 AUMF, which has been in the news lately. I'm sure you've all heard about it in the news, where they're talking about repealing that AUMF, which was authorization to invade Iraq. The other one is in 2001, right after 9/11, which MFSO has been very, very big on because it authorizes the president to use military force any place in the world at any time he wants without notification to anyone, including Congress. And like I say, MFSO has been doing multiple campaigns throughout the years to get the AUMFs repealed and get the power of waging war back to Congress, and not allowing the president to, on his own or her own, wage war for the U.S. And we worked with a number of Congress representatives directly, and helping them promote the repeal of the AUMF. One of the big things today you'll hear is, oh yes, we'll repeal the 2002 AUMF, but we need an AUMF basically remodeled, rewritten, because that's what we have to have. And we don't need to have any AUMFs. And that's why MFSO has always went with repeal all the AUMFs, because the military cannot fight terrorism. The military is designed to fight other countries, the military of other countries. You just can't do it. It's a Justice Department issue, not a military issue to fight terrorism. And that's the main thing that we need. I feel that we need to ensure that the public and our representatives in Congress realize that the use of the military to fight terrorism is a non-winner. That will never do away with terrorism because of the roots of terrorism. And anytime we talk about AUMF, it's repeal. You never want to replace it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot my chain of thought there. But the main thing that we would like for everybody to do is to, right now, is any representatives you talk to tell them that we need to repeal not just the 2002 AUMF, but also the 2001 AUMF. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Jeff. And I just want to remind everybody, or just if you haven't noticed by now, Military Families Speak Out has a wide variety of positions, but we stand united on the issue of bringing the troops home now and taking care of them when they get home from Iraq and Afghanistan. And many people think that MFSO is a pacifist organization, especially when I'm working with groups like ICUJP. They just think that's true. But actually, no, we do just work on these wars and bringing them home now and taking care of them when they get home. The reason we do this is this allows us to have people from all sorts of political bents. I mean, from the far right to the far left. So we stand united on this one issue. It does allow us to open more doors, and people listen to us that normally don't listen to other groups, unfortunately, about stopping the war. So I just wanted to point that out. Our next speaker was going to be Diane Pico-Haberdank, but she just got her vaccine, so I'm going to take her part right now. Diane is on our board. She's in Minnesota. She just got her vaccine and she had not a good reaction to it. She's a member of Women Against Military Madness, WAM, in Minnesota, and also an associate member of Veterans for Peace, Chapter 115. You notice many of our groups, many of our members are affiliated in a big way with Veterans for Peace. And that's because they are a great supporter of MFSO, and we stand united on many things, such as the Squeaky Wheel campaign. That's what Diane was going to talk about. Squeaky Wheel campaign is a new thing that we developed with Veterans for Peace. We had some leadership from VFP, their coordinator, their national director, their ex-director, and some Gold Star family members and Military Families Speak Out decided that it was, as soon as Biden won the election, there was time to try to reach out and push for bringing the troops out of Afghanistan. And so we were able to get a meeting with the Biden transition team, and they labeled us as stakeholders and have promised us other meetings, because we are very united on the idea that we don't want to just have one conversation like when we've been to the White House before and then just leave. Okay, we're done, one and done. Instead, we push for an ongoing conversation. So we're trying to work on getting that second meeting. Second thing we're doing is the work that Mary is involved with, and Michael McPherson and Garrett Rappenhagen, and they're working to create some videos and some media messages, because now that we're getting our troops home from Afghanistan, we're hoping, or so it seems. Of course, we're going to keep pushing for that, but we also want to make sure that people see the larger picture about bringing all of our troops home from the Middle East and more. Next, I would like to introduce you to one of our newer members who is working very, very diligently on the issue of one of our campaigns. He's leading that up to support the whistleblower reality winner. Surprises a lot of people. Why would we support a whistleblower? That seems a little radical, right? But again, we support our troops when families like reality ask us to support them. That's what we do. And so we are looking to support her. Don's going to tell us about that. And Don just joined us. He is a member of Veterans for Peace and Military Families Speak Out, served in the Air Force as a traffic controller in the 80s, and has a nephew in the Marines. He has a weekly radio show. Hopefully some of you have heard it already. It's called Friendly Fire, a voice for veterans. It's been on the air for over 3 years, covering subject matters such as PTSD, the Veterans Administration reorganization or privatization, another campaign of ours, military base contamination, TBI, traumatic brain injury and moral injury, service animals for veterans, drone warfare, imprisoned U.S. Air Force veteran whistleblowers such as Reality Winner and Daniel Hale. His guests have included prominent people who are active in helping veterans and their families, anti-war activists, senators, Congress members. In his spare, he just had Matthew Ho on the show last week, so I hope you can catch that. It's going to be coming up again in parts. In his spare time, Don says he dreams of a world without war, racism, pandemics, religious fanaticism, starvation, homelessness, and global climate catastrophe. Don, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, everybody. Greetings from the great state of Maine. Sorry I got in a little late, but you folks are really radical having meetings this early in the morning. But it's a pleasure to be here. I'll try to be brief. It's also been a pleasure working with Military Families Speak Out, and it's a great group of people with a common goal of, again, supporting the troops, supporting the families, and we really have each other's backs. And it's almost like veterans and their families are now somewhat of a special interest group. There's so many diverse people. There's so many diverse issues facing veterans and their families. It's absolutely incredible. There's more every day. Of course, everybody's very hopeful now that Biden is in and Trump is out, that things will progress in a positive manner for many things. But, you know, mostly we're dealing with veterans and their families. Been involved with the Stand With Reality campaign. We now have a Stand With Reality coalition, of which Military Families Speak Out is a part, to support United States Air Force veteran and whistleblower Reality L. Winner. Reality was sentenced to the longest sentence ever given to a whistleblower for releasing one document to the press that showed, yes, there was Russian interference in the 2016 presidential campaign. Of course, you know, Trump and Jeff Sessions really went after whistleblowers even more than the Obama administration did. They persecuted Reality. She was sentenced to 63 months. She's serving the remainder of her sentence now in the Carswell Federal Medical Center in Fort Worth, Texas. She's endured unspeakable conditions, and she really does depend on folks like Military Families Speak Out and the Stand With Reality Coalition and other people for support while she is incarcerated, and she's going to need a lot of help when she gets out, because once she gets out, she has to go to a halfway house. We're hoping sometime in June, perhaps sometime this summer, that she will be released to a halfway house. But as some people have said, these halfway houses set you up to fail. According to the book, The New Jim Crow, the recidivism rate for convicted felons is around 60% return to prison within 3 years' time. So even once you're released as a convicted felon, the system is set up for you to fail, to go back in. And this is something that the Stand With Reality Coalition is going to look at once Reality is released, is reforming the 1917 Espionage Act, which was originally meant to prosecute spies during World War I, but the Justice Department has taken this antiquated law and turned it topsy-turvy in a very Orwellian manner and used it to go after people who are patriots, who are not spies, but who are trying to protect the United States from enemies, foreign and domestic. The latest is Daniel Hale, another United States Air Force veteran, who whistleblowed on the drone program. And we didn't really know how horrible the drone program is until Daniel Hale blew the whistle. So reality is, again, very much counting on support from folks like us while she's in there and once she gets out. So we're doing everything we can, working with very closely with Reality's family and other people to support Reality, support the family. I didn't know squat about the Espionage Act, about really jail support, anything like that back in 2017 when Reality first came on the show in 2018. She briefly came on while she was incarcerated in the Lincoln County Jail while she was awaiting sentencing. I didn't know anything, and then this 25-year-old woman came on the show one night on the radio show, and I said I was just so very, very taken by her bravery, her heroism, and her sense of humor, how she was facing all this. It's been an honor and a privilege to know her, to work with her and her family, and I hope all you folks who are on this meeting today will help to not only help Reality, but other people who are facing this horrible whistleblower law when they're trying to protect the United States and trying to protect people and families. You could go to standwithreality.org or standwithreality.com to get more information. There's been a movie just recently released about Reality. It's called The United States USA versus Reality Winner. There's a song called My Reality on YouTube. There's been a play made about her. So she's getting more and more press as time goes on, and we are trying to get her out as early as possible. And we're also working on a presidential pardon, because this is the thing that really would release Reality. Yes, she's going to be released into a halfway house this year, and yes, she will finally be released on a 3-year parole with heavy restrictions. But what will really free Reality, and then I'll wrap up, will be a presidential pardon. So this is really a focus now of us and trying to get the Biden administration to issue a Reality a pardon. You remember Trump pardoned 143 individuals his last day in office. And these people were not your fine, upstanding citizens and heroes like Reality is. These are people who are bottom dwellers. So it's a very, very unjust system out there, and we're doing everything we can to free Reality, get her a pardon. And thank you so much for attending today and listening.
Thank you, Don, and especially for if you would put in the chat again, standwithreality.com and your call letters for your radio show. All of us really appreciate you providing this weekly radio show a platform for veterans to be able to tell their stories. And you've told Reality story in a most compelling way. So thank you for all your good work there, Don. And if you could put that information on the chat, we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's going in the chat right now.
That's WMPG, right?
Coming up here in 19 minutes, GMCR, I'm typing it in now, GMCR.org. And Matthew Ho is on at high noon here, coming up here in a few minutes. So it's actually two radio stations. I'll type them both in. Yep.
Thank you, Don.
Yep.
Very much appreciate that. And now I can't tell you how excited I am to have our next two special guests join us. Basti, I bet Basti's mom I don't know if her mom, Martha, is on the phone. So let me talk a little bit about how I met Martha, because we have her daughter on the call and Jose, her son, who is deported and living in El Salvador. So he joined us on the call. That's the box you see that says Jose that's kind of coming in and out a bit. So let me tell you a little bit about them. I met Martha on a demonstration when Jose had just been thinking about her son enlisting. And she was out here trying to stand with us to support the troops to bring him home. Her story at the time, she was very concerned when her son enlisted, and she wanted to know more about us and really putting a lot of time helping us get our message across. She came in as an adult with her toddler son from El Salvador, and her family lived in Long Beach. And that's when we got to work with her and know her better and get involved in the situation, the horrible, tragic situation that happened with her daughter. So let me start first by introducing Basti. Can you come in, Basti, now? And I'll let you introduce your brother. I don't know if your mom's here or not. I don't see it. Is that her?
Hi everyone. Sorry. My mom is on. She just had to call in. And my brother's having trouble hearing us, but he's trying to figure it out. So we'll give them a few minutes. Yeah, so thank you everybody for having us. This situation that's happened to my family happens to a lot of veterans, and it's incredibly sad. So my brother is currently in El Salvador. He was deported October, not last year, but the year before, and that was really strenuous for us to go through. My brother enlisted in the Marines. He did 5 years. He did 2 tours in Iraq. He has PTSD, TBI, and he did lose hearing from his left ear. This has all been, he went to, when he was discharged, honorably, like many veterans, he had issues that he did not tend to. He went to school, he got work, and he didn't really focus on treatment for all those issues. So unfortunately, like many, he turned to other ways of coping, which led to his legal issues that he has dealt with. He did 1 term in jail for a few years. He got out. He still didn't get his citizenship while he was in the service. I remember that he got his appointment to go get it, but he was in Iraq at the time. And then when he returned, he didn't go and get it either. So now when he's in jail, now he's going to be deported at the end of his term. The first time he was not actually deported, but the second time he did sit in ICE for a few years, and then finally was deported. So currently he is in El Salvador. We do not have family there. We don't have anybody there. He's staying at a hostel that we try to help pay as much as we can, because we also, you know, struggle ourselves here. And we're trying to work with different organizations or people that can assist us in at least either getting him closer to Tijuana, where there's many other deported veterans apparently that live there, and there's organizations there, and to have him closer to us here, where at least maybe we can drive over to see him. That would be ideal for now, but the only way that he can ever actually come back to the US is through a pardon as well. My mom has been very active during all of this, you know, with a lot of organizations like PATS, and they've been very helpful, and other ones have tried to help us as well. But of course, I mean, there's many veterans in this situation as well, just like my older brother. And I think it's completely just heartbreaking. Especially for them, I can't even imagine, like, you know, being tossed out like that. So that is a lot. If you guys have any questions, you know, I'll be happy to answer. I am at work right now, so I'm just had to step out to talk. My mom is on the phone. I can have her unmute if you guys would like to talk to her as well.
We don't usually do questions and answers in the middle of a program, but because, as you say, you're at work, if anybody has a question they would like to ask right now, please put your hand up in the box.
If I could just say a couple of things, just so everybody's clear on what's happening here. And Martha, if you would like to speak, yes, we'd love to hear from you. Let me point out a couple of things. I know it's hard to believe for many people that they can deport veterans. In this case, it's the tragedy of it all is they're doing triple punishment. You know, not only do they often, if they commit a crime, not only are they doing time in jail for that crime, but they also get deported. So that's like double jeopardy. And the law just is outrageous in that, you know, in Jose's case, in most of these deported veterans, they did do their service. They were discharged. They have an honorable discharge, but the law allows them to return if they come back in a casket. In other words, you'll do all your time being deported, but you can come back and be buried in the US. There's just so many crazy things about this situation that we have to fix. Jose, are you able to hear us at all? Okay, Martha, are you able to get to speak?
Yes, yes, I'm here.
This is Jose's mom.
Hello?
Hi, Martha, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm a little late. I get out 8 o'clock in the morning for my job, but I'm here, and thank you, everyone. It's a lot of things to say, you know, but I want to be sure. I know you're online for a long time already. My daughter, Basti, already talked about my son, that's in El Salvador. When I hear the troop is coming home, I wish my son be here. I ask everybody online or here my voice, keeping in prayer for me, my family, my son. My son getting worse every day. His health condition is not good. Especially, you know, they're dangerous. Try to survive, like I said. But we're here, and we try in many ways to advise my son that got deported. I pay attorney, and my son is still got deported. My daughter mentioned about we try to keep my son over here in Tijuana, and this is our next plan to do it is I try to get a visa. We can get my son close to the house over here in Tijuana. We can, you know, support him more. Any idea, you know, the other people have for me or my son, my family, which is, you know, we need help. We need help. We need ideas, you know. For me, this is terrible. Like my daughter said, our heart is broken. I don't want my son, you know, coming in casket. You know, that's like Mr. mentioned about people, you know, got there and come over here to be better. I don't want that for my son. I want my son be here in life, not dead. And I pray God every day to take care of my son because he have a heart condition, you know, and be there by himself is terrible, terrible for me, my family, and my son. So I know a mother and father, families, they have a lot of family deported everywhere. But this is sad. After the people serve this country be like treated like that, you know, it's not right. I think that there has to be justice for everyone. That's that I have to say.
Thank you, Martha. And just to add a few more details on this particular case, which we really fought and had some good support from Green Card veterans and other groups across the country. You know, in Jose's case, he suffered with when he was injured with an IED. And so he was actually diagnosed as having PTSD from the VA. Once you're deported, you don't have access to the VA or many of the other support services you could have. Of course, one of the signature wounds of this war is traumatic brain injury, and the result being a lot of drinking and violence and domestic violence. And this situation is something that we can actually look at his record and say it was caused by the war. And that's what people don't see. They think once you leave, you know, there's no decompression that has to take place. You've already served your country. You should just stay out of trouble. But these wars and the PTSD that's resulted from it, the moral injury has caused many of these crimes. And so this adds to our reasons that are documented as to why he should be pardoned.
That's true. That's true. My son, the thing is, people when finish service, whatever years making in the military or whatever, after that, they don't. My son attended some time and then try to get help. I went with my son all the time. But my son is diagnosed with this problem not right away. This is problem because they don't give a help, to the people. So after anything wrong that people do, they should go in jail, and they don't care what the cause, the problem, why they do this and that. It's terrible. Like, the system is total terrible for me, because I follow like all the try to get a medicine for my son. I went to VA. I asked him when my son he's locked out, the situation, please send a doctor where my son he's here in Adelanto. And all the time the question is to me, no, we don't have no service there. We don't have a doctor. They can attend to your son. And that's what I hear negative all the time, so I just feel like I don't have no help for my son.
Thank you, Basti. Thank you, Martha. I hope you got to see Jose try to pop in here and there, but I guess there's some problems with the transmission. So, Rose, thank you.
Thank you. Is that your entire performance? Performance is the wrong word. I mean, it's such an incredible presentation. Thank you so much. I mean, I have learned so much myself, and I'm sure other people have as well. Now, when people have a question, they go onto the participants box and put their hands up. We have 3 hands up, I see right now, one of which is from Jose. So let's start there and see if Jose can actually get through and speak to us. Can you speak, Jose?
Yes, good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, but I've had several morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. You guys, doing everything for better.
We're having trouble following you now. I'm sorry. I think the connection's getting bad again.
Oh gosh.
Okay, try again.
There you go.
I was saying, being here this morning, the other dear day, I took time to take out a day for this. It makes me feel a little bit today. Things going all around states, all over the country, but I
Thank
you.
hear. Yes,
I think we've lost you again.
Jose, if you turn off your video and devote your signal to your audio only, it sometimes helps.
Okay. So I turned off my video, and now I think I could hear you guys better. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, that is better.
I believe I'm supposed to answer some questions.
Certainly, I have
so
2
I'm available.
people. Yeah, okay. Stephen Royd, would you like to ask your question?
Yes. First, I want to thank everybody. Basti, Jose, and Marta, we are very grateful for your joining us today. We are an interfaith group fighting for peace and justice. I want to ask you, Jose, to describe the experience. Well, let me say it this way. You have paid your debt to society twice. You have been in service of America. And then when you had your troubles, have served your time. We would believe that anyone who serves their country should get both an honorable discharge and citizenship. It should be a package of kindness and thanks from the United States of America for your service, and they should come together as a package of honorable discharge and citizenship. And I'm eager to hear a little more now that we have your signal and your story. Have you been able to connect? We are a very activist organization. We always think, how can we help? How can we help you be pardoned and have a fast track to citizenship?
Well, going back to my honorable discharge, I do have an honorable discharge. I do have, I have been in theater, I have been in combat. And for the citizenship part, I turned in my green card while I was still active duty. I went to San Diego with a couple other Marines that did not have citizenship. We went to San Diego to get passport pictures, and we went through that whole process, turned in our green cards and everything. And of course, they never followed up on me. They never followed up. And when I got my honorable discharge, I already felt like all that was already taken care of, but it wasn't. And this is my situation now. But right now, I know that there's some things going on in the courts, according to some of these lawyers that I've spoken to. I mean, it's only a matter of time. I hope that some of this immigration reform does change, because it's a very, it's not where it should be. At least for us military personnel that, you know, we serve our country. We feel that is our country. The United States is where home is and where the heart's at. Currently, I'm out here by myself. All my family is in the United States. And what family is out here, you know, we're total strangers. We don't know each other. We don't talk. It's like I keep in touch more with my family in the States. So I'm out here right now in San Salvador, you know, just trying to make every day count, trying to take it day by day as all this gets taken care of.
And Jose, any congressmen, senators, or elected officials that are aware of your case and are taking on your case?
I believe Senator Duckworth is one of them. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Yes.
Also, there's a pardon package that is took hours and hours of work. All of everything for a pardon package is on Governor Newsom's desk. I'm going to be putting that in the chat. Please call the governor, ask him to look at that. What happens, it's sort of a squeaky wheel thing. It's not who turns it in first, it's how many people call in so that it gets noticed before the governor can ignore it and will actually look at his case. We don't think he's even opened the package, but that was done over a year ago. So calling the governor would be really helpful at this point, reminding him that he does have the package on his desk. Please do the right thing.
Thank you.
We also have been working with his representative in Congress, which was Nanette Barragan, who was a great supporter of immigration reform. But she refused to hear and intervene in his case because of the type of domestic violence that was involved in the situation. And that just totally left us hanging. So we have tried to get congressional support, but she's just not going to do that. So that did not help the situation. Many times our congressional representatives can make all the difference, but she won't. Just saying.
If that was the end of your question, Steve, Geraldine, you have your hand up.
Yes, first I just want to say I agree with everything that Steve had to say. I've been aware that this is not an isolated case, that there have been thousands of former military folks that have served our country that have been deported. And I am just wondering, you mentioned a package now that's on Governor Newsom's desk, but it seems to me that these are folks that should not have been deported in the first place. And is there a campaign currently formulated working towards that end? So they're not deported. They shouldn't have to fight to come back to this country, especially for anything, and especially for medical care. Now I'm wondering if that wasn't the government's idea. We'll just deport them so we won't have to pay to take care of them after their service. Yeah, it's terrible that they've been deported in the first place. That's my
Thank you.
question.
Here's the conundrum that we're answering the question about a campaign. As you know, comprehensive immigration reform is on a lot of the legislators' desks. And every time we try to get our foot in the door, one of the issues that comes up is that so many of our DACA folks that we support getting citizenship for have not committed crimes. So whenever we try to say, well, can you include deported vets? Everybody's sure, no problem. Both sides of the aisle. Republicans love this idea, but they do not want, for whatever reason, we seem to get left off as a separate group to get approved on any formal immigration reform legislation. So, and there's several reasons for that, but that's the main one. So we are looking at chipping away at bits like the New Way Forward Act by Chuy Garcia in Chicago that's up on this, that's being considered. What it does is it makes many of the crimes that were felonies lowered down to misdemeanors, which would then allow them to have their case heard again. But that's just chipping away. It's not solving the problem. So that's why we're looking for even an executive order from President Biden. Right now, there's a big campaign going around the country. I'm going to leave it on the chat called Leave No One Behind. And people are buying these murals and putting them around and displaying them and talking about the situation of deported vets all during this month. And it's to culminate in DC with a request for Biden to just put out an executive order to pardon all the veterans that have been deported unjustly. Biden has spoken out about it. Many people have spoken out about it, but they're not doing anything. We have that. So that's the situation.
Thank you. Jennifer, your hand was up. I thought.
Well, yeah, I think, there's a connection between this and also they've been giving US citizens like bad papers when they discharge from the military so that they don't have to provide certain benefits to them. I mean, the cost of war is very high. I had one client, her son, all he did was basically he's a watch out man on the tower, and he's hearing all these missiles being dropped, and that affected him mentally, that he's not capable of taking care of himself after discharge from the military. I mean, for life. He's on disability for life, and if she leaves him in a house, she has to hire a house cleaner to clean the house for 2 weeks. It doesn't take that long to clean a house, only maybe 1 to 2 days. So I think a lot of it has to do with the government not wanting to pay up the cost of war. And I had another client. She had a dream marriage, and then one day her husband came back from the Afghanistan war, and he wanted to burn down the house and her and the kids. So she had to file divorce and got a bunch of restraining orders, sold the house, and then her in-laws now expect her to take care to heal the husband. That's a lot to ask, because she was an immigrant, and she had they felt that she benefited, but I've asked my client. She said he's permanently she don't think he's returning. She thinks he's permanently damaged. So, and that was like so many times, so many assignments. That was like his, he had several assignments to the Middle East before that occurred. So the cost is so much that the government should take seriously before just thinking, okay, we got to go in here, okay, we need this for our security, and they're refusing to pay up. Thank you. I really, and I'd like to find out more about his case, because actually US, if you work even since 9/11, if you even work one day in the US military in active service, you can become a US citizen right away. You don't even have to apply for permanent residency. So why didn't he take advantage of that law? Just one day.
No, it's not a law. That's why there are thousands of veterans that have been deported over the years. It used to be kind of an accepted thing, but way before 9/11, when you enlist in the military, you have to have a green card. But then after that, you're supposed to go through the process of applying for citizenship, like Jose did, but he was in Iraq. Many of our deported veterans thought by swearing in that they too were a citizen, but they're not. So this
you just
is a real
apply.
problem,
I had a client.
and I have to say, we've looked into it.
Can I, kind of point of order? We have a real chance
Sorry,
to
we
make
can't
a
hear you.
difference right now. Jennifer, would you be willing to put your phone number and email in the chat? You have said as an immigration lawyer that you would be willing to look at this case. It sounds like you believe there is a track to citizenship by a veteran. And I think we do some good work today if we can offline link you up with this family and see if there is any help.
All right, Fernando.
Yeah, it's really sad. I'm also a veteran. I'm also a former Marines, and this is really sad that's happening to many veterans. It's this is like a habit of the U.S. government. It's like when we serve. It's like when we finish our service, they just throw us in a trash can. The same thing with what happened to the World War II veterans, the Filipino World War II veterans. They promised them citizenship when they fought during World War II. And the same thing happening to them. Many of them denied citizenship and so forth. And even if you're a citizen born in the United States, many of these young guys got deported many are in El Salvador and all over, and creating havoc on that country, to their parents' country, and the same thing. As I think of many of these things, maybe because there's so many deported in Tijuana and so forth. I'm watching this, and it's really sad. maybe we can, I mean, I'm willing to help. I did campaigns for homeless veteran about 10 years ago, and I want to be reactivated on this. But maybe I don't know. Is there any? I guess my question now is, can we create maybe not just putting this many injustice that happening to many different veterans, but can maybe the question is toward the lawyer. Is it possible to create a class action suit, a class action, was that action suit or something like that? I guess that's my question.
Class action suit sounds great, really. I agree. I think at the time, maybe that's what it'll take to get their attention, hit them in the pocketbook, because what we've been doing so far, and there's many things, I mean, these national actions that are going on right now, it's just not moving people into action. Thank you. I like that idea.
I would just like to say that the term moral injury was used in one of the presentations. I think it would be helpful to the group if one or more people would define what moral injury is and give some examples of how that plays out as veterans return home.
Thank you. I can start with this. I'm sure Mary and others can join me on this. There are many ways that our troops can get injured, and most people know about PTSD by now and some other forms of reactions that are negative and hurtful. But the injury to the conscience, to our humanity, is something that we are now just talking about. And you hear a lot of it from our veterans that have been returning, because, it's not enough to say PTSD. When you know you've done something wrong, when you come back and you decompress and you have time to check in and deal with what really happened, this is what causes. It's looking beyond the name PTSD and saying this may be a major reason why there is PTSD, because some things that we've done, one of the people that's been speaking out heavily is Danny Surgeon and Garrett Reppenhagen about some of the things that they did as snipers or as people that were basically going in for one reason and then finding out they were doing these things that just didn't sit right with them, of course, but they didn't have time to deal with it till they came home. This is what moral injury is, when your humanity and your conscience kind of has to come to terms with what you did in the past, and then it just breaks people down. And that's why one of the major reasons why we see such a high suicide rate in the military. There's still many every single day, and one active duty that commits suicide every day. So it's not even, we haven't even dug below the surface to deal with what moral injury is until we hear all of our stories, till these wars are all over and they can take time to heal. Mary, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I wrote something very quickly about that, which I think makes it very clear. Moral injury is a psychological wound caused by the betrayal of a person's core beliefs, an individual's values, ethics, and morality. Our men and women go to war with noble intentions. They want to fight the bad guy, protect the innocent, and make the world a better place. The military trains its men and women to believe U.S. wars are for a noble purpose. After spending time in Iraq and Afghanistan, many realized what was done there was by no means noble or honorable. You were seen as an oppressor by the people. You have seen or participated in awful things. There are no illusions after boots hit the ground in a place like Iraq or Afghanistan. Many feel betrayed by the government. They were lied to, used as pawns, and that their fellow soldiers died for nothing. Veterans suffering from moral injury have an intense sense of shame, guilt, and regret about what they did or didn't do in combat. They can't forgive themselves. Some are so tortured by what they saw or did that they seek atonement and peace by killing themselves. Combat, guilt, and suicide are strongly connected.
Hey,
Thank you, Mary, and
Pat.
thank you, Dick, for the
Thank you.
question.
Hey, Pat, I'd like to speak to this.
Please do, please.
Yeah, to be very blunt, I guess, you know, it's unnatural to kill another human being. And you have to, as a soldier, you have to be able to justify it in your own mind that this unnatural act was justified. And when you can no longer justify it to yourself that what you did during war was okay, that's moral injury. You live with the question of, did I really do the right thing, or am I really a bad person because I did this? And it really comes down to that, is your own personal feelings. You don't, you know, a lot of people think, well, you know, when you see, and, you know, when you kill somebody really close, and that's, you know, that you feel more than you would not. That's not really quite true, because this being involved in killing another human being, even though, you know, it's 1 foot away or 20 miles away, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to justify it in your own mind that it was needed to be done. And when you lose that, that's moral injury, because it's very hard to live with, and it takes a long time to get over it, and to be able to re-justify that what you did wasn't wrong. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm afraid we're going to have to start tidying up now. It's getting close to 9:30, and we have to be mindful of people's time. Any other kind of urgent questions? That was a very poignant ending there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mary? Mary, can you put what you were just reading about moral injury, was that online or in a book?
Well, that was something I wrote because, you know, I think it's a hard concept to express in a period of time. So I wrote it out because it helped me understand it better. And so I wrote it out my own self in my notes, but I can give that to you as like a Word document.
Yeah.
And I wrote it to myself because it helped me understand it.
That would be great.
Here's what I'd like to say to Mary, to everyone, to Jeff, to Don. We are extremely grateful for today, and we don't consider this the end of this effort. So offline, I'd like to organize and curate the following. And ICUJP will put together a package, and we will distribute it to our email list of everyone who's on this screen and people who couldn't attend today. Mary, I'd love you to send us links to your Common Dreams writing, to the material you presented today so beautifully and eloquently, both in the opening of your injury. Pat, I encourage you to save the chat. I don't know if you're familiar with saving the chat. You go into the 3 dots at the bottom of the chat and you can save it, because Jennifer Lynn put in specific statutes and her contact information. And we want to stay in touch with Jose and his family to see if there's some specific practical help we can facilitate on an individual level. But then on a broader level, Pat promised offline we'll get the details of Jose's pardon request to be able to make phone calls and contacts with Governor Newsom's office. Many of us work with his office on a variety of issues. And so as we begin to wrap up, I don't want to leave out, I want to be attentive to these issues. And offline, we'll put that package together. We'll organize resources generally and specifically, because today has been extremely illuminating and has elevated this topic for many of us. I think on the bigger issues that Mary and Don and Jeff and Pat have talked about, we also have to be more intentional about this whole question of military families speaking out and the kinds of initiatives they're taking. This is our side of the question of ending endless war, and this horrible notion of of support the troops when they're in war, but when they come home, we don't give them any support. And that is the theme, I think, that connects so much of the stories we've heard today, and it goes to the heart of our work. So speaking for the entire organization and all of the people that are here, thank you to each one of you